Aloha, welcome to the G'day Sally Show. I'm Sally Squires, entertaining the world. Tonight I'm going to read some more chapters from my children's book, Mama KUTI'S Adventures, and we're up to chapter 11, Mama KUTI as Project Manager. It is not surprising that so many people wanted to work for Mama KUTI, as she was known throughout the area as a very kind person and also very generous. Already her neighbours had noticed that their district was becoming much more prosperous because of the influence of Mama KUTI and her various projects, and they were very grateful to her. The news about the latest one of Mama KUTI's projects had created a real buzz of excitement all around. Her neighbours knew that Mama KUTI's new inn would create more jobs for them and their growing children for a long time to come. Perhaps not so many of their children would want to leave their village and move to the city. The parents were always sad to see their grown children leave for the city, as they knew they would not see them very often. Cities were full of very busy people doing very busy jobs in very busy companies and places like hospitals and dental surgeries. So they felt full of hope that Mama KUTI's new project would keep some of them here in their own village, as they could now find jobs with Mama KUTI. As Mama KUTI drew up the plans for her new inn, she thought about the materials she would use. She knew she wanted most of the structure to be in bamboo, but she also knew that she wanted a very strong foundation for the building. I will make the base foundation with mud bricks, she thought. That will give my inn a very strong base, and with the bamboo walls and roof it will be able to withstand any strong winds that come along, and even hurricanes or floods. Mama KUTI had had some experience with strong winds like the one which had brought the magical tree and planted it in her backyard. And she had also had some experience with floods, like the one which had flooded her backyard and which had meant that she had floated all her animals out of her backyard and down the flooded road to the school on her huge pumpkin boat. She laughed as she thought about that particular adventure. Ha ha ha, she laughed. People still talk about seeing me floating through the floods, holding onto my animals in our huge pumpkin boat. Ha ha ha! Making the mud bricks and making the bamboo structures will give my neighbours the chance to learn how to make mud bricks and bamboo structures for themselves, so they will be able to build their own houses in the future, especially when their grown children marry and need a house of their own. Once she had the plans ready, Mama KUTI set out on her donkey cart to let all her neighbours know that she was ready for them to start work. Her friend the baker agreed to arrive early every morning with enough loaves of bread to help her feed all her workers, and Mama KUTI knew she would have to get up very early to milk her goat and cow to have enough food for the workers. Her vegetable garden was now flourishing, so she could make delicious vegetable soup every day for her workers, and some of them also brought their own food to share among the others. This is a very happy project, thought Mama KUTI, and I am very happy to be the project manager with all these very willing workers. It wasn't long before all her workers knew how to make mud bricks and how to cut and dress the different sizes of the bamboo struts that were needed for her inn. They all became so proficient at the building work that several of them had very creative ideas which they told Mama KUTI about and which she incorporated into her designs for the inn. She could see how enthusiastic her workers were, so she decided to call a meeting one morning before they all began work. Some of the workers were puzzled about the reason for the meeting, but soon they knew that the stories they had heard about Mama KUTI's generosity were true. Mama KUTI began to speak. I can see how hard you are all working to build my inn, and I appreciate everything you are doing. So I propose, if you all agree, that you will all have a share in this building that you have put your heart and soul into building. Would you all like to be part owners with me in this inn? The workers were all astounded at Mama KUTI's idea. Yes, 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 they cried. We would be very happy to be partners with you, Mama KUTI. And so it was. So now we're at chapter 12, and this one is called Naming the Inn. Now that the inn was nearly complete, Mama KUTI began to think about what she should name the inn. Well, this is something that everyone working on it should decide, she decided, as she fed her chickens that morning. I must ask everyone to think about a good name, a happy name for this happy building, something that will encourage people to come here and something that will give them very happy memories of staying in our inn. She no longer thought about it as her inn, it was now our inn. As the workers all gathered ready to start work that morning, Mama Kuti asked them if they would begin to think about a happy name for the inn, something that would create a happy atmosphere for anyone staying there. The workers all chatted about what would be a good name as they continued working that day. They were still talking about it as they went back to their homes that evening, and they discussed it too with their families. They wanted something simple for the name of their building, as they were now thinking of it as their building, no longer Mama KUTI'S building. But they wanted it to have a warm and welcoming feeling when people said the name. All the next day and the day after they thought about it and talked about it and discussed it. They tried to imagine how someone who wanted to visit there would think about their inn. Suddenly, one of the younger children who had come with their father that day said, "Why don't we call it Your Home Away from Home?" What a good name, everybody thought. That's exactly how visitors should think about our inn, as their home away from home. When they told Mama Kuti the name they had decided to call the inn, she was so pleased she smiled and smiled and smiled. "What a wonderful name," she said. "That is exactly perfect for how I want people to think about our inn. Thank you all for thinking about this so carefully." Mama Kuti asked the painters who were busy painting several areas of the inn if they would paint a beautiful sign of welcome to the Your Home Away from Home inn, so they could put it up at the very front above the door. The painters got to work immediately. They wanted their sign to be very colourful and included several types of flowers and greenery all around the words. When Mama Kuti saw their sign, she was so overcome with happiness that tears welled up in her eyes. "That is the most beautiful sign I have ever seen," she said. "Thank you so much for your wonderful art." And then she paused. "We should have a big welcome party to announce the opening of our inn," she said. Everyone applauded. "Yes, we should have an opening day party," they agreed. So that's the end of chapter 12. Now, chapter 13, the welcoming party. Invitations went out all over the country for the welcoming party for the new inn, Your Home Away from Home inn. Mama Kuti's friend the baker had to put on extra people to help him make all the bread and cakes and pastries for all the hungry guests. And Mama Kuti had to milk her cow and goat several times over to get enough milk for all the guests. She was so relieved and happy when so many of the local farmers who had been working on their new inn brought her more supplies of milk and cream and vegetables from their own gardens. It was going to be the biggest, happiest party that any of the villagers from all around had ever seen. Musicians turned up from many different villages, and even some of them were from neighbouring towns. There was going to be dancing and singing all night and well into the next day, Mama Kuti thought. What a wonderful event this is. Then she turned to look at the sky because she could hear a strange noise, the kind of noise she had never heard before. No, she thought, that is not the wind. She knew exactly what the wind sounded like, as she could remember clearly the night the wind came and deposited her magical tree in her backyard. She was afraid that she had strained her magical tree with requests for it to make enough different fruits for the party. But she was happy to see that her magical tree still looked well and healthy, and she made sure that she had watered it enough even though she was busy with all the preparations. No, that noise is not the wind, and that is not the rain, Mama Kuti thought. She knew very well what rain sounded like after her backyard had been flooded and she had to float all her animals away from the water in her huge pumpkin boat. What can that noise be, she wondered as she scanned the skies all around. Suddenly she saw a bright red object which seemed to be floating through the sky. It's not a bright red cloud, she thought. And then Mama Kuti nearly fell down in shock as the bright red object, which was making that loud noise, began to descend. And then, even more shocking, it landed in one of her fields. Luckily it did not land in the field where her cow and donkey and goat were. If it had landed there, they would have got a terrible fright, she thought. Then, even more surprising, Mama Kuti, straining her eyes so she could see, saw someone or something get out of the bright red object. "That looks like a person," she said, disbelieving. And sure enough, the person started to walk towards Mama Cootie. After greeting the stranger, Mama Cootie asked her to please explain what the bright red object was. "It's an airship, sometimes called an aeroplane," said the visitor, "and I am the pilot." "So you drive the aeroplane?" asked Mama Cootie. "Yes," said the young woman. "I fly the plane, and so I am the pilot." "How wonderful," said Mama Cootie. She was full of admiration for the young woman pilot who was so courageous to fly a machine right up high in the sky. Mama Cootie was also very curious. "How does one become a pilot?" she asked. "It's just a matter of learning, just the same as learning anything else." Mama Cootie was very intrigued. "You mean to say that I could learn to be a pilot?" "Of course," said the pilot, Mama Cootie's new friend. "I could teach you if you'd like to learn." "That would be wonderful," said Mama Cootie. "I would very much like to learn to fly just like you. Please come to our party and stay in our new inn so you can teach me how to fly." "Yes, that is why I'm here, for your party. I had read about your amazing discoveries of the dinosaur bones, and I came to see them and visit your museum. I would like very much to stay several days and see all the wonders that you have here, and I would be delighted to teach you how to fly in my aeroplane." Needless to say, the welcome party of your Home Away from Home Inn was a huge success. People talked about it for days and even weeks after the event, and soon the inn was besieged by visitors wanting to stay there. Mama Cootie was pleased that her idea had turned out so well, and so many of the young villagers were lining up to work at the inn, which made their parents very happy, as their daughters and sons would be able to stay in their villages instead of leaving to work in the bigger towns and cities. So that's the end of chapter 13. You know, Hawaii is a microcosm of the world, with people here from all over the world. And Noa Noa Hawaii is a microcosm of the traditional arts of the world, with beautiful patterns from many countries. They've been in business for more than 40 years with wonderful Hawaii-designed batik clothing. Their hand-dyed and handmade clothes have patterns that are based on traditional kapa and tapa designs from Hawaii, Polynesia, Micronesia, Indonesia, even New Zealand and Africa. So check out the wonderful items that Noa Noa has on their website, www.noanoahawaii.com.